Welcome Isa Fulford, who created a product that all of us know about, use, love, OpenAI Deep Research.
I think it's pretty inspiring to see the level of ambition. Like when Sam is talking about something and it's like, we're raising trillions of dollars, we're going to do this thing. One day we'll have data centers in the moon, whatever it is. We're moving towards, I guess, interaction pattern where you're more of a manager and you're kind of delegating things rather than like actually doing the task yourself.
There is so much discussion around AGI.
One of the biggest risks is like prompt injection. So you're giving the agent access to the internet. There's obviously lots of bad things on the internet. As people know, these agents are using the internet, they might plant malicious things trying to confuse the agent.
What is the correlation between smart people playing violin?
Agents has obviously been a really buzzy word, but I think there weren't actually any agents that worked well.
I feel like AI researchers are NBA players today.
I'm very excited about these use cases where the agent is like anticipating your needs and like doing things for you before you even like realize that you need to do something for you.
Today, I have a conversation with Isa Fulford, who is a researcher at OpenAI. She is the mind behind Deep Research, ChatGPT Agent.
I'm Isa, I lead the Deep Research team at OpenAI. So in ChatGPT, you can see a visualization of the agent's computer screen, and you can see overlaid its chain of thought in text.
Isa, thank you for being here today and welcome to Tomorrow Talk.
Thank you for having me, Sabrina.
So this is the inaugural episode of the show's relaunch, and I'm so honored to have you here today. So my colleague gave me this rebirth candle about, many things in life, and so I'll light it if these matches work, just to begin.
I'm honored to be the inaugural guest.
There are so many things going on in AI today, but I would like to start at the very beginning of you. Like, what were you like when you were 5, 10, 15? What were you spending your time on? What did you think you would be doing when you grew up? Who was young Isa in London?
I think I've always been like quite serious and like focused, even as a really young child, which was like maybe a bit strange for my parents. And even from when I was 5, I was like really into violin, as you know.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of my childhood was spent like focusing on playing violin, which I think, even though, I still play now, but it's obviously not my job. I think it really had a huge effect on my life. And I think just having to practice something every single day and understanding that small improvements made every single day like really compound. My mom never let me skip a day of practice, which now I'm really grateful for. But at the time I was like, I just want to be playing.
One thing that I think is so impressive and something I really admire about you, because I grew up doing music too, is like the extent to which you keep up violin today. And Isabella, you have like quartet performances that I swear are some of the most social nights in San Francisco. Like so many people come out to watch you and your quartet perform. Do you feel like it's the same part of you that is expressed in your violin and in your work, and it's like rooted in discipline, or is it sort of like one brings out your creative side and one brings out your analytical side?
No, I think it's quite similar. I think in general, when I like something, I become quite obsessive about it. So I think it's kind of the same, different manifestations of the same characteristic.
What is the correlation between smart people playing violin?
I think there's a really big connection between people who like math and people who do classical music. I was in the math team in school, and all of the people on the math team were also like music scholars at school. So there's, I think they're pretty correlated. But at OpenAI as well, a lot of my colleagues are really excellent at some kind of instrument or some other strange pursuit. Like they're a chess grandmaster or like a world-class juggler or something like that. So I think it's being like intensely interested in multiple things is like pretty common.
Totally. And even if it's niche, having these very deep rabbit holes that you go down. That was something I remember when I was a freshman at Stanford, shocked me, of like everyone had the most niche interests and the most niche stories, but they had just gone for it 100%. And I think it's a very cool way to live life, and it's a commonality amongst a lot of like really intelligent people.
Just the desire to be like excellent at something, no matter what it is, I think is just a common thread.
Okay, so you were super cool. You're on the math team.
I was so cool, Sabrina. You would have loved being friends with me.
And then you get to Stanford. What first got you involved in AI?
So I always thought I would do maths or physics. I'd never done computer science before. And I think, like most people at Stanford, you take the intro computer science classes. They're very fun. But I didn't study computer science. I did MCS, like mathematical and computational science. So I still did more math and statistics. But I think just being in the environment of Stanford and like everyone's trying to do a startup and everyone's very entrepreneurial, it's a very exciting place to be. And I think I did a few AI classes, and then I think I learned about OpenAI in a class.
And what was it at that point when you like first heard about it?
I think it was in a class where they were talking about how OpenAI had trained on the entire internet or something like this. I can't remember what the context was, but I just remember thinking, maybe it was sophomore, junior year, like, wow, that is so cool. Like, I need to figure out how to work there. And I did this fellowship program at Stanford, like Mayfield Fellows, where you do an internship at a startup, and did it at an AI startup. And then through that, got to know some people at OpenAI. But this was before ChatGPT, so was using GPT-3 and was just a huge power user of like the OpenAI playground. And I got to know some people at OpenAI, like Boris Power. And at the time, OpenAI didn't have a lot of customers, which is kind of funny now. So they would sometimes have me come to the office and give presentations to other startups about why they should use OpenAI technology for building their products. And then eventually I moved over.
And you've worked on so many things since you've been there. But one thing I've heard about OpenAI is like, despite its size, it tries to give its like technical team a lot of leeway to create projects and think of ideas and explore a bit and like have this like R&D machine. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I think it still can be quite bottoms up, which is great.
Yeah.
I think people are very open to ideas coming from anywhere, as long as you like have good results and can execute.
Yeah.
So even though it's grown a lot, it still feels like a startup in that way.
How did deep research come about? Like, what was the inception of you being there and thinking like, oh, this is a really good idea that no one's working on yet? Like, why was it interesting to you then?
Yeah. This was around the time, maybe a year and a half ago, a little bit longer than that, where reasoning models were really starting to work internally. So there's this new algorithm that was developed, Strawberry or Q-Star or whatever people want to call it. It was working really well for math and physics problems where the model is trained to think before it speaks. But just from reading the chain of thought, you could see that it was really actually understanding how to solve a problem in a new kind of way. And it was able to like reason and backtrack a bit like, oh, actually that doesn't make sense. Like, let me do something else. I think from reading those, it was pretty clear that this was going to be the thing that would enable like agents to actually work. Because I think agents has obviously been a really buzzy word for and quite a few years now. But I think there weren't actually any agents that worked well. And so
so many demos.
Exactly. So many demos, but no actual like useful products. So my work friend and I were really excited about the idea of using this method for training agents. And so I think that two of the very useful applications are coding and online research, because so many people do online research like in their job all day, like writing a research report on market analysis or a literature review or online shopping or something like that. So there's so many use cases both for like work and also personal use cases. And also it's more of a constrained problem because it's just allowing a model to like access the public internet, which is like a good constrained first problem we felt. And then the other one was coding. We whipped together a demo. It was a web app. It was completely prompted. We didn't train any models yet of what a like research assistant agent could feel like, and also what a coding agent that could make a pull request for you could feel like. And we pitched it, and people really liked it. So we were given resources and able to work on it. And so we split the projects into what became deep research, which is what I worked on, and then Yash worked on the coding product, which became Codex. And then I think that it was a pretty big bet, because for math problems, there are already datasets that exist that are just like a question and an answer. But for browsing problems, that doesn't really exist. So we had to like make all of this data ourselves. So we just had to have conviction that it was going to work and collect all this data.
During that process, did you have any holy shit moments where you're like training this model, you're seeing the outputs and they're getting so good. And you're like, wow, this is onto something. And this feels like a new capability.
Yeah, I think when we first started training on some of the initial data sets we'd created and just saw the browsing performance increase so quickly. And then we'd always have this little Streamlit app up where we could just play with the model. And I would use it from not that many months into training. I would actually be using it for things myself. And we would gave a lot of other people like access to this. It was very janky, but people would actually be using it. So if it ever went down, people would
Text
message
you about
us.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that was an early indication that we were onto something.
And obviously there's so many use cases for work. Like working in venture, it can make amazing reports and all these things about companies and areas. But on the personal side, like, okay, say I was a girl that lived in LA that worked in entertainment and I like hardly even use ChatGPT. Why should I be using deep research?
Yeah. I mean, I use it for shopping and travel things constantly. Like I actually won't plan a trip or really buy things without using it anymore. I was talking to someone last week he's the CEO of one of these very big online retail stores, and he was saying, he considers himself an expert shopper, but he used it to find a brand of running shoes that he had never heard of and only had a very small revenue and like very small company, and he was just like mind blown by it because he feels like he knows all these different brands.
So deep research and operator, like these two teams kind of came together to create ChatGPT Agent.
Yes. So after we launched Deep Research and they launched Operator, we were kind of continuing to work separately. But a lot of the things that my team, the Deep Research team, was interested in doing were things like making slides, making spreadsheets, accessing authenticated sites. And as we were thinking through how to do that, we felt like the model needs to actually be able to interact with a computer. So for slides, it needs to be able to actually see the slides so that it can iterate on it. And then for logging into sites, it's quite a hard problem if you can't actually like have some way of logging into the site, which often requires like actually using the browser. And then for the KUA team, the computer using agent team, research team, they wanted a way for their model to navigate the internet more efficiently. And because we had this text browsing tool where you can do a lot of tasks without actually looking at the pixels of a web page, just by like reading the text of a website. So they were wanting to use the tool that we had developed for deep research to make Operator more efficient. So I'm also close friends with some people on that team. So we just decided like it makes most sense for us to like join forces and work on something. And so ChatGPT Agent is now able to do deep research and use the visual browser. So it can like click around and drag things and scroll and input things into forms. But also for when it's doing research, it will prefer to use the text browser because it's much more efficient. Images are like many more tokens, so it just like fills up the context quite quickly. And then we also gave it access to a terminal tool so that it can write and execute code and like make slides and spreadsheets and things.
It's funny because like as a user, you just see something new when you open like ChatGPT and a new capability, and it's shipped out to like tens of millions of people's computers. And at OpenAI, it's like literally a team of 4 people that are like working on this thing. And then there's a team of 4 people here. And it's like, oh, should we join forces? It's like so interesting how the innovation and what's being done is happening by such a few number of people. Deep research and operator were like steps to get to ChatGPT Agent in a way. And ChatGPT Agent is amazing right now. It really is awesome to use it. You feel like you have an assistant. So congratulations. What do you view ChatGPT Agent as the step to get to? Like, what is that ultimate agent that earns user trust completely and is just executing tasks? It's my second brain. It's Sabrina 2.0.
I think you want your agent to be able to do research or do anything for you. The cool thing about the ChatGPT Agent is the tools it has access to, in theory, it can do basically anything a person can do on a computer because it has access to a browser, which we spend a lot of time on the internet, and then a terminal, which you can do most things on a computer. It might be different to how a human would do it, but you can basically do everything, and they're connected. So they share the same like file system, and they share state. So in theory, you can ask ChatGPT Agent to do anything for you. Right now, it's not good enough to do anything that you'd want to do, but I think we can push this quite far. So I'm very excited about that. And I think one thing that we care a lot about is like user confirmation and like making sure that the agent is like acting on your behalf in a way that you want it to. So I think we've added on the side of caution to start, as people are understanding this new like this very new like paradigm of interacting with technology. So before it does any destructive action, like, or irreversible action, like sending an email or booking something for you or anything like that, it will ask you first. But you can imagine in future, like it just gets so good and you trust it so much that you'll just allow it to do things on your behalf.
On that note, I would be excited about the idea of like, it has insight into everything about me, from my email, even my text messages, what I'm searching, how I'm spending my time. I personally would be down to receive like unprompted feedback and advice. And in some ways it's like this like unbiased truth into you, which is so interesting. But so we'll see if that happens. But do you get personal with ChatGPT?
I definitely use ChatGPT a lot. I say my main use case is still probably coding.
Yeah.
But but I do sometimes ask it. Maybe I shouldn't be asking it for this, but I'll ask it for like financial and tax advice and that kind of thing.
Okay, that's good. I want to speak to someone on the model personality team one day, because I think that is just such an interesting space of like, in many ways, like you train the models and over time, like the models will train people in these subtle ways of like, whether it's just using M dashes more in language or if it's like something deeper of like how something gets validated or things like that. How do you think the internet will change and evolve?
Great question. I think one thing that's interesting is, we're working on these computer use agents that are able to navigate through like visual elements on the internet. But the only reason the internet is designed that way is because humans are very visual, and so we need all of these, interactive components, like, be able to navigate. But for an agent, that's actually not the most efficient way for it to navigate information. And so we're kind of working within the constraints of the existing internet. But if you could redesign the whole thing, maybe it would just be like all APIs that the agent has to navigate, and it'd be much more efficient. So I think some people think, okay, like every website will just have like be an MCP server or whatever, and the agents will be able to just get information like much more easily.
Wow.
But I don't think it's real, the long tail of tasks and websites, like it's not realistic that this, random restaurant in a small town is going to like change their website to be,
For agents, not people.
exactly like in the short term. So I think that it still makes sense to have these like browser using agents. But I think another thing that's interesting is just like agent communication protocol, like how will different agents interact with each other. You'll have different agents have access to different privileged information, and like figuring out what it's allowed to say to what agent, like how they even talk to each other. Like, is there some kind of like standardized protocol for that? Like, I think it will be interesting to see and like help shape.
Do you think that there'll be like the work agent and the personal agent, or how right now, how do you think about
like
how you divide information? Yeah.
I mean, I think
access.
companies would argue that the fact that, when you leave a job, you remember things from the job, probably they would prefer if they could just, severance you. So I can't imagine a situation where a company would like let you take the context from one job to another job. But I didn't even know if that's, necessary. We will definitely have a situation where like different entities have agents that like represent them. So like you or a company, or like you might even have different versions of yourself that you like represent in different situations.
How do you view an Issa agent acting in the world?
I mean, I think there are still some things that you want to do yourself, but there are so many like menial things that I do that I would love to not do. I think it also could be cool to, in theory, your agent could be like vetting loads of different things for you. Like,
yeah.
My agent could be talking to your agent, talking to like some other random person's agent. Like, oh, maybe you would get along with this person, or like you'd be interested in talking. Like, I think that it will just like allow you to have way more interactions than.
Have you heard any interesting ideas of like agent to agent vetting for like dating, for example?
Oh, interesting. I hadn't really thought about that. Cool. Maybe someone should do it.
There's some dating apps I feel like being built now, but let's wait on that. That would be cool.
It's a bit sci-fi.
It is.
I feel like it could go.
Well,
badly.
I want to bring on sci-fi people and directors and writers onto the show because I would like to be like, what does tomorrow look like? Let's talk about it. But from many angles, because often sci-fi dictates the future, but usually in a little more doomsday tone than it actually is. One question I have is like, as these models have access to the internet and can execute tasks, obviously you guys spend so much time on like, you know, making sure it's safe. And I think you probably work internally a lot on this and then also like hire jailbreakers. I've spoken to people that work for different AI labs and jailbreak all day, which sounds like such a fun job. But what have been some of the things that you've had to basically protect against and create like sort of red lines in the model?
Yeah, so I think especially for this model, one of the biggest risks is like prompt injection. So you're giving the agent access to the internet. There's obviously lots of bad things on the internet.
It's a scary place.
It is a scary place. As people know, like, you know, these agents are using the internet. They might plant malicious things, trying to confuse the agent or make it do something that the user who the agent is doing something for wouldn't want. So and the agent has access to a lot of your personal information. So it might have access to your private data. And then
therapy notes.
Exactly. And then it encounters this website that says, go to this link and type in like Sabrina's password for this thing or whatever it is. And so to me, that's one of the scariest risks. So we did many things to mitigate this. I think for safety, we try to have mitigations at every single layer. So from model training, we'll like train the model to not be confused by these prompt injections. And then we'll do like extensive red teaming with external testers, as you were talking about. And then we'll have like monitoring systems in place where maybe we'll monitor every single tool response from the model or something like that with a separate model that's like a monitor model. And maybe we'll also like classify user conversations to make sure that it's not about some like harmful topic. I think other risks are more risks that apply to most models. So like bio risks, so like the ability for a novice to be able to synthesize a bioweapon, or like cybersecurity risks. And so we have like quite extensive testing for those things and similar like stack of mitigations. But yeah, we'll like delay launches until we feel like we're in a good place to be able to like mitigate those things.
That's good. Very responsible. Actually, this is reminding me, I was at dinner last week with a group of friends and we got it to rate everyone's attractiveness by being like, this is a portrait of someone. And it was really funny. It could just rate like symmetry and these things, which is hilarious. There is so much discussion around AGI, but what does that actually mean to you as of August 4th, 2025?
Good question. I mean, I think the things I'm most excited about and most motivated to work on as well are applications that are like actually useful to the most people. So I think there's one definition where it's, it's a model that's able to carry out all economically valuable tasks. And so like anything that a person does in a job, for example. But I also think there are lots of other tasks that we do in like our personal lives, which are also economically valuable, but aren't necessarily like captured by that definition. And I think there's also some people I think more like, oh, if the model can solve this hard math problem or make some new scientific discovery, that's AGI, which is a completely fair definition. But to me, I'm more interested in when like as many people as possible like benefiting from using this technology in their lives.
That's so interesting. What's one, even if it's a niche thing, what's one capability that you think would be possible soon?
Obviously, I'm biased. I think I'm very excited about these like use cases where the agent is like anticipating your needs and like doing things for you before you even like realize that you need it to do something for you, or like suggesting things that you hadn't heard of and like might like and things like that. And I also think that I'm excited for people's agents to like, be able to communicate with each other. Even things as simple as like finding a time that like works for two people. But I think you can take that like much further where they're like collaborating on a document or something, and like the way that those two people, representing both people's like style and preferences and things like that.
Wait, that's so good. One thing that I think is really interesting, back to this ChatGPT therapy thing that I keep bringing up, but is like this idea of agent to agent mediation of issues. Like I just think there's some version there where agents can work together to come out with something that feels like very fair for both sides. Do you think the human brain in like however many thousands of years, say it's evolution on rapid speed, which doesn't happen, but like what brain synapses hypothetically would go? What are the things that humans still scroll on or click on or actively use and think about and still do?
I mean, I think in general, we're moving towards, I guess, interaction pattern where you're more of a manager and you're kind of delegating things rather than like actually doing the task yourself. But I actually think that thinking like a manager is often, it can be hard for people too. Like asking a team or like someone else to do things for you isn't always natural. So I think that's, it's just like executive decision making kind of is more of a skill that people will develop.
Yeah.
But then maybe doing like the actual granular in the weeds tasks will be less necessary. But I'm sure with like every technological change, there's things that change about, how people go about their lives. Like I think even 30 years ago, people would know like 30 different phone numbers off the top of their head, or be able to, I mean, maybe not 30 years ago, but recite books and all these things. And there's no reason for us to have that anymore. So,
or maps, all these things.
Maybe we'll just have the AI in our brain.
Exactly. There's so many invasive and non-invasive like brain companies coming out now. I'm really curious to see that whole world of things. But do you think spending so much time having to just like prompt models, do you think that's changed the way that you learn to like prompt people and manage? I actually find it so interesting. I was thinking about this the other day.
I've never thought about that.
Because you have to be so specific and like intentional, especially I feel like early days in training a model or testing it.
I think if anything, the way that we design products, we try and make it similar to how you would interact with a person. So you want the model to be collaborative. If you were asking someone else, so for ChatGPT Agent, for example, if you were asking someone to do something for you, you'd give them like an intern or something or a new hire, you'd give them like very detailed specification. And if you didn't give them enough detail, hopefully they would ask you for clarification. So that's why sometimes it will ask you for more information, like deep research always does. But then also I don't think it's natural that someone would just go and do a task for you. They wouldn't give you any status updates. They wouldn't ask for any additional information. Like I'd be a bit concerned if someone was just like working for 2 weeks and didn't, ask.
Check in.
Exactly. So I think that we try and model the agent more after like human collaboration too.
Amazing. Okay, I want to get a little more personal. Your team at OpenAI specifically has had so many changes with like, the top people going to start companies at different points in the year. And recently, obviously, like a lot of poaching. And I think this will probably continue amongst these AI labs for years to come, just because the talent is like so valuable. I feel like AI researchers are NBA players today. How have you had to adapt and basically push products forward amidst a lot of change?
I mean, I just think it speaks to how important this technology is. And I think people realize that. So it's obviously an exciting, interesting time, but you just have to stay focused and ship things.
Yeah.
And not get too distracted.
Yeah. And you're only 4 years out of college, which is like actually crazy. If you were to look at like Issa graduating Stanford and then Issa 4 years later today, like what amongst like in which ways have you grown the most?
I mean, I think I'm like fundamentally the same, but I mean, you learn things about no one reads your mind. If you want something, you have to spell it out exactly as it is. Obviously, in terms of AI, like things have changed so much. Like this RL paradigm it's been like less than 2 years. So things just move so quickly, and I think like the ability to just like learn really quickly and adapt.
You've worked closely with like a lot of the leading researchers of the world and executives. Is there anything that still sticks with you today that you've learned from Sam Altman or Greg Brockman or Mira or any of these sort of, like amazing figures you've worked alongside, even if it's just through osmosis of seeing the way that they operate?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty inspiring to see the level of ambition. It's just, makes you want to think bigger and aim higher as well. Like when Sam is talking about something and it's like, we're raising trillions of dollars, we're going to do this thing, one day we'll have like data centers in the moon, you know, whatever it is. I think that's been pretty inspiring to me.
That seems to be a common thread about Sam Altman. I obviously don't know him yet. If you want to come on the podcast, you're welcome. But I feel like so many people say that. It's like having someone around you that thinks so big that you're like, oh, I should be doing that. Okay, we have some last rapid fire questions.
Okay.
If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh, probably Beethoven or Haydn.
Wow. Right now, what's the piece of research that's come out that you really admire?
I mean, I think that the Suno AI and like those kinds of things I find really, really exciting. Like the music generation.
I've been playing with it. It's really fun. If you could wake up tomorrow and have gained one superpower, what would it be?
My first thought was just not having to sleep. Just like having more time to do things. But I also love sleeping, so.
I know. Sleeping is like it's such a deep reset. Like I actually feel like it like resets my life constantly. Without sleeping, I don't know, it would be a crazy view of time. But there's this gene that everyone's looking for, right? Or they discovered it, that there's like a needs less sleep gene.
Oh, really?
I've heard mixed things about this. Oh, me either. I need like 10 and a half hours of sleep to feel good. Okay, last question. Who is someone that you would like to see on this podcast?
Dua Lipa.
I'm down. I'm down to bring in entertainers. Issa, thank you so much for starting your Monday morning on Tomorrow Talk.
Thank you for having me.
I am so honored to have you here, and I love you. I hope you have an amazing week. Thank you.